Assalamualaikum Encik Fairuz. Our group will present our site visit. We have chosen Nihon Park Rising as our location for site visit. Let me start with introduction. Environmental management system is a system practiced by the organization in achieving the environmental performance by controlling the performance impact of their product, services and activities. It is a series of standards related to environmental management. Known as the ISO 14000 standard series, it acts as a form of processes and practices for the organization to reduce the impact of environmental. Their operation is highly chances inefficiency. Back to the objective of EMS, we can say that the EMS establishment is to support the environmental protection and prevention of pollution in balance with socio-economic needs. Roughly, it can be called as to preventing the environmental impact as well as minimizing it from the organization activity, product and services. It exists to minimize how their operation negatively affect the environment, comply with the applicable law, regulation and other environmentally oriented requirements, as well as to continually improve the rest operation and environmental protection. The ISO standard has practiced the environmental the Plan Do Check Act model PDCA. The following purpose is to continually improve the management system they manage through the application of system process and the interaction among the workers. It also compatible for the other standard ISO 9000. There are 6 clauses in the requirement for ISO 40000. First is general requirement, environmental policy, planning, implementation, checking and management review. These all are from the PDCA modern practice. Now we look closer in each clauses in the later description. To making understanding better in this standard, we have been assigned to make a site visit to a company to look closer the real implementation of the standard, how they done it, what are the significant environmental aspect could be there, what the procedure being carried out to make the operation smoother and many more related. We move to background of company. Nihon Park Rising is one of the branches company from Japan headquarters. Nihon Park Rising Malaysia Sedia Berhad is led by the Executive Director Raja Datuk Executive Chairman Raja Datuk Hanipuddin bin Raja Datuk Nonchit, followed by the Managing Director Tetsuo Imatomi and the Executive Director Encik Raja Faizal. The company is located at kawasan perindustrian Bukit Raja, Kelang Selangor. They carry out the manufacturing activity and sales of metal surface treatment and rust preventing oil. The ISO 40001 was certificated on 15 March 2013.
Next, 4.1 General Requirement. The top management of the organization also has to define and document the scope of its environment management system. The top management also has to determine the boundary that involve their activities, services and products. When the scope has been defined, all the activities that within the boundary should be applied to the environmental management system. Based on the Nihon Park Rising's, the scope include their top priority is to ensure that the safety and health of their worker. Second one, They also want to do a business in which they can contribute an environmental preservation through material modification. The third one, they aim to conduct their business in a good manner. 4.2 Environmental Policy. Organization environmental policy is defined by the top management. The defined environmental policy must within the scope of its environmental management system. There are 5 points in the Nihon Parkerizing policy. First, they hold safety as their top priority. Second, they will contribute to society through the development and commercialization of products and technology which take into consideration safety and environmental impact. The third, they will ensure that they have a full understanding of and strictly observe relevant laws, regulations, and ordinances as well as regional accords or agreement. Fourth, they are committed to ongoing reduction of risk through risk assessment and will make the utmost effort to eliminate the sources of danger and prevent contamination of the environment. And the last one, they are actively engaged in reducing the environmental load through improvement activities, and our goal in the creation of a safe and pleasant workplace.
Next, I will continue with environmental planning. Which are environmental aspect, legal and other requirement, and also objective, target, and program. So let's look at the first subclause, which is environmental aspect. So environmental aspect are the element of an organization activities, product, and services that can interact with the environment. As a big company, the Nihon Parkerizing Group always takes an active approach to environmental preservation, which they perceive as one of their top management priority. They always make sure to identify all the environmental aspects within the scope of its environmental management system. For example, some of the environmental aspects in their company are wastewater, which is any water that has been adversely affected in quality by anthropogenic influence, and also smoke or hot flue gas. So, in order to prevent the environmental impact on the environment, they follow all the 31 rules in the Standard B. Environmental impact are actually any changes to an environment, either adverse or beneficial, that result wholly or partially from environmental aspect. And one way is to reduce the water pollution caused from the wastewater in the environment. Firstly, they will treat the wastewater into an effluent that can be returned to the water cycle with minimal environmental issue. They will treat the wastewater by removing impurities with some method of treatment in their own wastewater treatment plant. These on-site facilities to treat their wastewater are very important so that the pollutant concentration in the treated wastewater comply with the local and national regulation regarding disposal of wastewater into community treatment plant or into rivers, lake or ocean. Then, after the treatment, the water will go into their drainage and will be reused back for general purpose. Besides that, to decrease the air pollution, Nihon Parkerizing also ensure that chimneys are provided in their each company. This is because the dispersion of pollutant at higher altitude can reduce their impact on the immediate surrounding. A sufficiently tall chimney can allow for partial or complete self-neutralization of airborne chemical before they reach ground level. The dispersion of pollutant over a greater area also can reduce their concentration and facilitate compliance with regulatory limit. So, for the next subclause are legal and other requirements. Legal requirement refer broadly to any requirement or authorization that is related to an organisation environmental aspect as issued by a governmental authority and legal force. In Nihon Packer Rising, they focus more on environmental quality regulation and also occupational safety and health. So here actually we listed some of the regulation that they apply, which firstly is Environmental Quality Holland Management Regulation 1999, which stated all the conditions for use of portable Holland fire extinguisher and prohibition on the installation of new fixed Holland fire extinguisher. Secondly, are Environmental Quality Control of Emission from Petrol Engine Regulation 1996, which actually focus on control of petrol engine on motor vehicle and gases emission control from motor vehicle. Besides that, are Environmental Quality Schedule Waste Regulation 2005, which required the notification of the generation of schedule waste, disposal of schedule waste, treatment of schedule waste, responsibility of waste generator, storage of schedule waste, and spill or accidental discharge. In addition, they also implement the Environmental Quality Motor Vehicle Noise Regulation 1987, which allowed the sound level test and maximum sound level permitted for motor vehicle having more than 3 wheels. Other than that, they also apply the Environmental Quality Compounding of Offences Rule 1987, which stated about the sum to be collected and also method of payment. They also established the Environmental Quality Clean Air Regulation 2014, which requires the company to measure steps to reduce emission, monitor the performance of air pollution control system, maintenance of record, hazardous substances, and also accidental emission. And next, the Quality Sewage Regulation 2009, which monitor the discharge of sewage, spill or accidental discharge of sewage, and prohibition against discharge of sludge into inland waters or Malaysian water. Finally, they also established the Environmental Quality Amendment Act 2012, which focuses on the administration, licenses, and also prohibition and control of demolition, like prescribed premise to be licensed, requirement and approval of plan, power to specify condition of emission, restriction on pollution of the atmosphere, and also restriction on noise pollution. Finally, subclause under environmental planning are objective, target, and also program. The subclause under environmental planning are objective, target, and program. The objective for Nihon Packer Rising are they always maintaining quality control, quality assurance, and also environmental management system overall. Some of the programs that are they held a few environmental awareness public projects for ISO 14001, such as they organized an event to save the electric on 2012. The main objective for this activity is actually to reduce electricity usage to concern for environment for all staff. Besides that, they also conducted like the Talk for Safe Electricity, polystyrene campaign, reuse bag campaign on 2013, and recently they handled a program for reuse, reduce, recycle activities or 3R on November 2014.
Implementation and operation. For the resources, there is 3 resources that needed for the environmental management system. The first resources is human, physical, and financial resources. Human resource is very important to make sure all the targeted plans and activities can be conducted on time to achieve company objectives and targets. Nihon hired about 50 employees, which actually adequate for a small and medium enterprise SME like Nihon. And as it only has 1 branch in Malaysia, which others are in foreign countries. Next, the physical resources is really crucial for the development of the company activities because the physical resources come from the land and capitals which are utilized for the productions of products and production site. The financial resources is really vital in any company, including Nihon, where the money is mainly used in trading, import or export activities. production of products, transportation and infrastructures. For the authority, responsibilities and roles, top management, head of department and ESH officers or EMR representative was needed in the EMS system. The top management roles, responsibilities to make sure that all the decision was made up in the company in order to make sure that all the activities of the company conducted in smooth condition. The head of department is needed to the head of department will observe and monitor all the workers that are below them. The ESH officers are really crucial for the EMS continuity and also EMS improvements. The competent person is a person that can assist others as he has adequate experiences and knowledges and other qualities. The level of competence depends on the complexity of task and situation which has to be handled. The competent person in this company are Puan Norzila, the wastewater manager, and Encik Razi, the environmental management officer. Both of them have the competency in their related area as the company send them for training programs and related activities throughout the year. For the training and awareness program prepared by the organizations are related in the handling of the chemicals and raw materials, the method or approaches to handle natural disaster and fire drill emergency. In identifying the training programs needed by the workers, the organization look for the suitability, applicability of training towards workers' daily activities and the relevance of trainings to the workers' skills.
4.2 Environmental Policy.
Subclause under environmental planning are objective, target and also program. The subclause under environmental planning are objective, target and program. The objective for Nihon Pressurizing are they always maintaining quality control, quality assurance and also environmental management system overall. Some of the program that
There are levels of stages of document in this company procedure. The first stage is Quality Management Document (QM), followed by System Procedure Document, Standard Operational Procedure (SOP) Document, Recorded Data and Information Document, and lastly the form. Next is Control of Document. The person that approved and updated document required by EMS are Encik Razi, the ESH officer, and Puan Haniza, the quality control and quality assurance of products and other raw material. The ESH officer basically deals with all documents regarding the ESH policy, procedure and implementation in the company, while the QC and QA officer deals with the document of quality management operational procedure QMOP. The documentation of the QMOP are based on managing director and department's requirement. The example of the document which being controlled is the environmental impact analysis. There are few methods the company implement in order to control the document required by the international standard and organization. One of them is using the retention period method. All the document will be retained in about 5 to 6 years only. Document was rate depend on its severity. There is also document in handbook for the standard requirements. There are 3 master control of document. First is based on department, 2 quality control officer, and the third request on document changes media.
Operational control is really important in any of the organizational EMS. Operational control needed as controlling operation will ensure whether activities of the company comply with the legal requirement and other requirement or international standard. The operation is controlled by monitoring 1. The generation of fumes from the forklift, spillage of chemicals during the activities of the workers, chemical substance use, which is the chemical from the productions and also the chemicals from the raw material. The operation is then controlled by identifying the environmental aspect related to the environmental impact based on the EMS system of the organization. Next, the operation criteria is to control the normal, abnormal and emergency situations, where the criteria is to look the severity of the hazard from chemical handling and severity of waste impact to the water system. The higher the severity of the hazard, hence the more the criteria of the operations need to be handled and to monitor. The example of emergency situation is chemical spillage, contamination of products and materials and others. The hazard or danger is communicated to the public using awareness based on the environmental policy of the organization. Next, all the major emergency case or situation is reported to the public where it is necessary for the external communication.
They held a few environmental awareness public projects for ISO 14001, such as they organized an event to save the electric on 2012. The main objective for this activity is actually to reduce electricity usage to concern for environment for all staff. Besides that, they also conducted like the Talk for Safe Electricity, polystyrene campaign, reuse bag campaign on 2013, and recently they handled a program for reuse, reduce, recycle activities.
Next is the frequency of the emergency practices is made for twice a year to make sure that all the workers get the practice and can implement it when the emergency happened. It was revised by talks and documentation to make sure all the workers get the information. The factor considered to establish emergency preparedness and response procedures is due to the suitability of the workplace area and suitability to the workers' activities. The emergency procedures is related to the workers' activities and the workplace area to make sure that they understand and can implement the procedures when the actual emergency occurred.
Next, I will present about the clause 4.5 checking. Firstly, for the monitoring and measurement, the key characteristic is the parameter of the discharge of wastewater and the smokes emitted to the air surrounding. The environmental performance would be conducted once in a year. The company followed the verified monitoring process for the evaluation of environmental performance. Verified monitoring process is the act of applying the methods, procedures, tests, and other evaluations in corresponding with the compliance of international standard. The flow of process implemented for the environmental process were based upon the information given by the third external parties. The main external third parties involved, which were the Jabatan Alam Sekitar, Jabatan Kimia, and the UiTM Shah Alam Laboratories. The reports from these external parties help the company to report their sustainability performance in a clear and consistent manner and make toward more sustainable future. On the other hand, the measurement equipment used was calibrated twice in a year. Example of equipment that used to be calibrated by the company are dissolved oxygen meter, analytical balance, and also the pH meter. For the subclause of evaluation of compliance, firstly, the company was set up for the legal register, which included the mandatory requirement for premises. For example, registration of certification for MPK, any requirement needed from local authorities such as BOMBA, DOSH, and DOE. They relate to their information quality management representative for the external compliance needed by their customer.
4.2 Environmental Policy.
non-conformity, corrective action and preventive action. In this organisation, Puan Haniza is responsible in developing plan for dealing with actual and potential non-conformity. Before implement the plan that has been planned, she will discuss it first with Managing Director, and once the corrective action and preventive action has been implemented, this organisation will communicate with everyone about the changes. The effectiveness of this correction and preventive action are accomplished by reviewing product and quality trend results and determine if there are any similar problem. The product and quality trend result is reviewed in 2 weeks after the action. The non-conformity case that has been occurring to the organisation product was the issue of contamination of product. Next is internal audit. Internal audit is required in the EMS system in order to fulfill requirement of ISO 40001. This procedure could be include methodologies, schedules, checklists and form and process used to conduct the audits. The purpose of this audit is to determine whether the system conform to the requirement of ISO 40001 and the organization's own EMS detailed requirement, and if the EMS has been properly implemented and maintained. The procedure for internal audit has to address responsibilities and requirements for planning and executing the audit, reporting result, and what record will be generated. The procedure also addresses the determination of audit scope, how often they will be conducted, and specifically how they will be done. Auditor need to be selected such that it ensure objectivity and impartiality of the audit process. In Nihon Piprizing, the internal audit are conducted by trained auditors. One of the auditors is Puan Haniza. The auditors were trained in auditing technique and management system concept. The internal audit is conducted once a year.
Okay, I will proceed with the input followed by Nihon Piprizing are the input required in ISO 14001, which include first, the result from performed internal audit. Second, the result from compliance audits or assessment, which the evaluation of compliance is an addition to the 2004 standard. Third, the information from environmental inquiries, thus the communication from outside, which are internal interested parties and employees to include complaints. Fourth, the environmental metrics or measurement of performance of Nihon Piprizing. Okay, the fifth inputs in the Nihon Piprizing that required is the status of meeting involving objective and target programs, include the plan versus the actual circumstances. 6. The status of action from corrective and preventive activities. Next, open action and activities status from previous management reviews. After that, environmental changes that include the legal and other requirements that apply, service, product and activity, the output from environmental aspect of newly developed or planned evaluation by Nihon Piprizing. Next, advancement in technology and science, also investigation in the accident and injury, which including emergency incidents and experiences from the previous activity that Nihons have experienced and learned. Okay, lastly, continuous improvement activities that including the improvement recommendation and follow-up action status. Second, how top management reviews EMS. Okay, in order to ensure its continuing suitability, advocacy, effectiveness, the top management dan the intervals, and also common sense also dictates that once a system have been implemented, the review process also must be continued to test whether
what was planned does happen in reality. The most important element, the top management review first was, while apply the ISO 14001, it must be switched with Nihon Packerizing culture and resources. Okay, third is the how top management decides. Okay, for deciding action of environmental performance, the top management need to cooperate with the worker and needs to look for an evidence of how the corporate objectives are translated into the specific objective questions. This objective question also included with comments section in order to review any complaints. The objective question also was used as to monitor and analyze key aspects of schedule and planning activities. The top management has set a realistic objective for a process, and if there no evidence of improvement, this information was fed back into the management review that the top management can decide what type of action is appropriate, as example readjusting the objective or providing other means to impact on the process. As a conclusion, the top management decide the action for environmental management system improvement based on evaluation of objective question prepared. Okay, for the fourth management review, which is what is company follow-up action? Okay, Nihon Packerizing follow-up action by management review and decide decision about the environmental management system appropriateness, which is suitability, sufficiency, which is adequacy, and success, which is effectiveness. Changes to resources that may include financial, human and physical decisions and actions associated with environmental policy, objective, targets, or any element of the environmental management system as deemed from management review. The company follow-up action also follow a few agenda that have been set up, which are: okay, first, the agenda are the objectives stated in the environmental policy being met. The questions. Second question, does the organisation have the continuing capacity to identify environmental aspect? Third question, does the system allow the organisation to give a measure of significance to these aspects? Fourth, have operational controls that were put in place achieve the desired level of control? Next, are effective corrective action taking place to ensure that objectives are in danger or slippage, extra resources ensure to the planned time scale? Okay. Besides that, are internal audits effective in identifying non-conformance? And lastly, is the environmental policy sufficiently firming the forthcoming 12 months? Okay, all these questions are used to continuing the follow-up action with the agenda that has been set out. This question will be provide and follow the sequences so that the continuing can be done and proceed. Okay, next question, which is the management review have been conducted in Nihon Packerizing once a year, usually at the end of the year around October to November. The status of the conducted management review is the status of corrective and prevention action are still in progress of improving. Okay, the recommendation for company continual improvement, follow up with all schedule and all requirement needed according to the question, and all requirement in ISO 14001 needed.
Lastly, conclusion. As a conclusion, every company should issue ISO 40001 to manage their environmental management system. Nihon Packerizing is one of the examples that doing well in achieving their policy. We can conclude that the company is doing good in preventing the environment and avoid the pollution. We can see from the policy that has been made to achieve following performance. For this type of business, it is not easy to take care or effect on the environment since they out the risk on the hazardous chemical that might as well affect health of public. Besides, from the site visit to the production plant,
they are doing properly in packing, mixing, managing the chemical and also the wastewater resulting from the production. We can also see the arranged chemicals product has been finished into storage. It was well packaged back to implementation. The planning has been made to make sure the production is well carried out. Their environmental aspect consists of all activity that possible to harm the environmental, so that they has implemented the objective target that relative to their policy and increase their environmental performance before being reviewed by the top management. The legal requirement is made sure to be compliant with the standard they has practicing until now. We can see that they are following the requirement from the government. Since then, they should have the method to identify their aspect and determine what are important. We can also conclude that all elements are very significant as step in protecting our environment. As a company that has been established to have ISO 40001, it becomes responsible to keep the scope on track without making it worse for the environment. The guidance have given a lot for the company to make smooth management system. Thus, it is important to have such standard to protect our environment from pollution. Thank you.